The Iskandar drifted in the shadow of a dying star, its hull battered by years of silent travel. Dane Hale stood in the cockpit, staring at the debris field floating ahead. His ship had finally arrived. The ruins of the Lazarus station, his destination, hung in the cold void, the last remnants of a lost crew. His crew. Dane's gloved hand rested on the control panel, steady, though a cold knot twisted in his chest. He had been away too long, chasing a hope that never came. This mission wasn't about hope anymore, it was about answers. As the ship neared the station, the comm crackled to life. Static, then a voice, faint but unmistakable. "Dane? Is that you?" He froze. His heart hammered against his ribs. That voice, he knew it too well. Leona. She'd been the station's commander, his partner, long before the disaster struck. She was dead. They all were, weren't they? Leona? His voice sounded foreign, rougher than he remembered. No response, just more static. The ship docked with a hollow clang. His boots hit the cold metal floor of the station's airlock, the sound echoing through the derelict halls. Dust particles floated in the thin atmosphere, shimmering under his helmet light. He moved slowly, the weight of old memories dragging him with each step, left them behind. The thought gnawed at him like it always did. He'd been sent to find help, to save them. But when he returned, there was no one left to save. The corridors were narrow, their walls scuffed and marked from years of disuse. An eerie quiet followed him, but Dane felt eyes on him, just out of sight. He reached the central hub and saw the source of the debris field outside. Shattered consoles, broken glass, pieces of equipment ripped from the walls. But it wasn't the damage that made his stomach drop. It was the scorch marks. Blaster fire. Everywhere. The voice returned, closer this time. "You shouldn't have come back." His pulse quickened. He spun around, his hand reaching for the weapon at his side. "Leona?" He didn't expect an answer. Couldn't allow himself to. But he moved forward deeper into the wreckage. He wasn't looking for survivors. He was looking for the truth. The control room was just as he remembered it, except now it was empty. The chair where Leona used to sit was still facing the window, looking out into the vast nothingness. His chest tightened. He crossed the room slowly and placed a hand on the back of the chair, its metal cold through his glove. A soft sound made him freeze, breathing, ragged and labored. He turned sharply, weapon raised. A figure stood in the doorway, silhouetted against the flickering lights of the ruined station. Leona. She looked like she hadn't aged a day. Same dark eyes, same hardened expression, but there was something off. Too still, too perfect. "I came back," Dane said, his voice low. "What happened here?" She stared at him, silent. Then, without warning, her lips curled into a tight smile. "You abandoned us." His jaw clenched. "I tried. We waited. We starved. And when the raiders came," her voice broke, though her eyes stayed cold. "You weren't there." He stepped forward, his boots heavy on the floor. "I didn't know, Leona's form flickered. A glitch. Not her. A projection. A cruel echo. His grip tightened on his blaster as his stomach churned with guilt. Of course it wasn't her. It never could be. The real Leona had died long ago. Before he could react, the flicker took another shape, one larger, more monstrous. Something crawled out of the darkness behind her, an alien presence, twisted and malformed. It had worn her face, her voice. It had watched him, waited for him. Dane's hand was already on the trigger. "Forgive me." The blaster fired, its light filling the room. Then silence. As the smoke cleared, the projection vanished, leaving Dane alone in the dark. He holstered the weapon, his breathing slow and measured. But the weight in his chest remained, heavier than before. There were no answers, only ghosts.